everybody. Welcome to the True Texas Real Estate Podcast, where we talk about everything buying and selling Texas. I'm Marilee Brown from Empire Financial. We are here on location at the lovely, lovely poolside retreat of Linda Zimmerhansel, my co-host. Linda.
Hey, thanks, Marilee. Thank you both for coming.
Yes.
We're really excited to have, I'm broker, owner of Zest here in San Antonio, and the newest member of our team, Matthew Paniagua.
Yes.
And so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
Matthew brings 10 years of experience in real estate to us, and he is our expert at Zest Realty on creative ways to do real estate. He is here to talk to us about that. Thanks for joining us.
I wanted to get a large box and have you burst out of the box.
Oh man, we should have done that.
Think out of the box.
There you go.
That really, I should have. I couldn't find a box that big, and I didn't want to buy a refrigerator just to do it.
Yeah, I can jump over here and just pop up.
Yeah, hey, we should do next time. Next time we'll do that. So.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Well, we're lucky to have you. So, part of what is strong about real estate is that we operate with the traditional values of communication.
Sure.
Real estate is one of the oldest, industries in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what we do is the same old, same old. However, the strength of strong real estate is pivoting, right?
Yes.
Pivoting with the times.
Absolutely.
So, we don't think that far back about the MLS starting on the internet. I mean, it used to be realtors used to drive around with a big book. They'd have to go back to their brokerage with a big book of all the listings in paper, in a binder, literally. Now we have the internet. We've got the MLS, and 95 to 98% of all shoppers shop online, as you all know. So talk to us a little bit about what's happened since then, Matthew.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you all for having me. Appreciate it. And I'm very glad to be part of the team. So yeah, and share my experience and, what I've learned in my time, especially having been doing this for 10 years regular as a licensed agent, but also had doing some investing as well together, 13 years. But I have noticed that the new way of a modern approach is what I'm noticing of how creative we have to be outside of the box, what you have mentioned, and how we actually are strategically strategizing the way to do a deal. Okay. So what I've noticed that these days is that there's a lot of these iBuyer type of companies, these other big corporations coming in there trying to really stir up the market. I don't mean that in a bad way or in a condescending way. It's also a good way because as even traditional agents, we got to keep up with the times, whether it's in finance, whether it's as a real estate agent or realtor, whatever the case may be. We all have to keep up with the times and how to help our customers. And I think that's the most important part right now is really creating that being creative outside the box and educating our potential customers, our general public, as far as the options that they have other than just buying a house and selling a house. So in other words, if I have a house that I want to go buy, I have to sell my current house to buy that house. And right now there's just new ways of doing that. And I think that once that gets out there more and more agents, more real estate agents are going to have to actually jump on board on this and figure out how they can be of better service to our customers. So it definitely helps out in the market, definitely keeps us on our toes, just the way our real estate industry is just continuing to grow and just evolve. And so I think it's just a good time to really learn and really just be alert of what's happening in our markets.
Yeah, and that's what keeps you ahead for your clients. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Matthew, because we are fiduciaries. We have to put our clients' interests above all others, including our own. So we have to do what's right for them,
Absolutely.
Right? Which is really important to remember.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a little bit, I'm going to just back one step because you've got a powerful bunch of things to talk to us about with all of your experience in doing more creative ways to get people in houses and easier and in some ways less stressful ways. But explain to people, because some people don't know, what is an iBuyer?
Well, an iBuyer really is just either an individual or a corporation where they come in. Let's say you're the homeowner, I'm the iBuyer. I'm going to make a cash offer to you. Usually it's going to be below market value. It could be anywhere from 45 maybe to 80%, somewhere within those parameters of market value of your house, offer you the cash, and you're going to say yay or nay. If you let's say you say, okay, let's go ahead and do it. They go ahead and purchase the property cash. They turn around, put that same house, might do a little bit of some upkeep or might fix it up a little bit, paint, carpet, whatever the case may be, and put it right back on the market. Sell it for whatever they sell it for at full market value, and they keep the remainder of the margin.
And
so
what's the benefit to a seller in that situation?
To a seller, so if you're selling, if I'm the iBuyer, is that what you mean? So I think the benefit to that would be is if you just want to cash out the asset, not worry about anything that's going on in the house, whether it needs fixing or whether it doesn't. Some people just, they might have a house that they already bought, maybe outside of the state, outside of the city, and they just want to walk away just free and clear and just say, you know what, I'm good with taking 50%, I'm good with taking 60% and walk away from it and pass that burden on somebody else.
Yep, but there might be a better way, right? There's a twist to this one.
Well, let me ask a question,
Oh, sure.
because I'm not in the industry that you're in. I'm on the money side, but when you talk about an iBuyer, that almost sounds like flipping, right? We hear a lot about, oh, they're house flippers, or it's on TV. Is that the same as being a house flipper, or no?
No, I mean, it's kind of,
No,
piggyback on that. No, and the reason why is because usually house flippers, they're buying at a much lower rate. So they're looking at their 40% what they're going to offer for a house. And that house could be foreclosed on. It could be someone who's just in big trouble that maybe they need to get out from under them. The house is in distressed. And they're really going into the house and also the exterior of the house, and they're really fixing it up to bring it up to where it needs to be at market value or even exceed market value. And
Okay, that's a good distinction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Different
Just because
the
there's so
market.
much on TV about house flippers, iBuyers completely different. We should come up with a TV show. San Antonio
I like
iBuyer.
it. I like that. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, and the iBuyer it's just a different segment because they're going to offer more for the house than a flipper, but the house is going to be in better shape. So
Okay.
it's sort of in a different category.
Yes, absolutely,
altogether,
absolutely.
Right?
Good to know.
So, yeah, but that's a good another topic for us to discuss is house flipping.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
anyway, but so tell us a little bit about the twist on this iBuyer. The iBuyers came along a little while ago, right?
Yes.
Now we have a new twist that might give more options to our buyers and sellers.
Yes, so right now, being more of the modern agent and what we're going to experience through, what I've noticed is that there are other corporations out there who are teaming up with independent real estate agents like ourselves and even brokers where they're offering services in our toolbox that we can offer to the general public, to customers, past clients, whatever the case may be. So it gives them opportunities to decide, well, I can go with either option A, B, or C. Let's kind of see what works best. Now that is where my role as a real estate agent, professional, and yours as well, is where we just have to educate our customers a little bit more thoroughly as far as to the process, what new options that they have, and maybe fit into more what their needs are. So an example of that would be, great example is right now, someone wants to buy a house. They want to move up, but they have to sell their house first because they got to get the equity out of that house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have these type of partnerships that we've aligned ourselves with that have worked very well within these past few years. And now they're purchasing the house to, number one, as a so-called iBuyer, okay? They're unlocking the equity, so that customer can now take that equity and then turn it around and go purchase this house over here. And then what we'll end up doing is putting their old house on the market for them, sell it at market value, and if there's any upside to that after selling their house, they get to keep the remainder of their equity or the remainder of their proceeds. So it's a win-win for everybody.
So that logistically for the seller and buyer, they're selling their house and buying another. Logistically, it's a much smoother transition.
Absolutely.
And you're really, for that client that is a buyer and a seller, they're only dealing with the company, correct? And you, basically. Yes. So it's a much smoother transition. In today's world where things are here in San Antonio are staying on the market a little longer, it also gives you a little more security, the fact that you're gonna be able to leave that house, transition to the other house, and this other house, then you will be able to unlock any additional equity. So it's a step better than buying from a regular iBuyer, because if there is
Yes.
additional equity, it goes to you
That's right.
versus the iBuyer.
Right.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about, not getting your full value out of your
Absolutely.
house. Love that.
And people, that's what a lot of just anybody, us as an example, even my fellow colleagues are like, what is that? What does that mean? And I really try to educate and say, hey, really what's happened is that you get to buy a house before you sell your house. It's reversed. So they're like, what do you mean? They have to sell their old
Yeah.
house to buy this house. I'm like, exactly. That doesn't happen
It's
anymore.
almost too good to be true.
That's
So
the
do you
new way.
So I like knowing all the little
Absolutely.
details. So do you have a closing then on your house that you are in right now? Is it a closing first? You sell it to the
No, it's actually the second thing. So you're going to buy your house first. So you own your house right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go shop and buy a house? Okay. With our programs and what we do in our toolbox and what we're able to offer, say, you know what? How would it feel if you buy the house first and then we sell your house second? How's that sound?
Wow.
That's
I
what
don't
we
have
do.
to move twice.
Right.
Or I don't have
No
to
double
stress
moves.
out
Yep. It's
and make
great.
sure I have a closing on the same day and then rush to do that. That sounds like a win-win for sure.
And let me tell you something else. No contingencies. So it doesn't have to be contingent either.
On the sale of your house.
So
So
that's
your offer. So when you put an offer in on your first house, you don't do the contingency of, oh, if my house sells, then I'll
Yep.
buy
Right.
yours.
So number one, the seller of the house you're wanting to buy, you're much more attractive because you don't have a contingency on the sale of your house. So one unknown is taken away for that seller. So as a buyer, you're stronger, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a stronger buyer and you're able to get into that house. And then you don't have the stress of worrying about closing on the second house, because you will close and then you might get a bonus later of additional equity.
That's right. Absolutely.
So that is nice. And you're doing a couple of these now. You're
Right now, yeah.
in the prep stages and in it. So walk us through, like, obviously not their real names, but walk us through, like Sally and Ben selling and what exactly happens.
Sure.
Beyond
So,
theoretics.
okay.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the past 2 years, I've been doing this already. So this is already going in and it's continuing to evolve just the way the market's been shifting. But as an example, so I had a customer who lived outside of San Antonio. Okay. And they're actually moving into San Antonio. So in order for them to get here and be here on time, what they did is that they partnered with me. Okay. They decided, hey, you know what? I like the program what we have. Let's buy first and sell second, which means that we get to actually go shop first. Of course, they have to qualify, meaning that they start to learn about the mortgage process or if they have the equity. It all depends on what program they fit into, number one. Okay. So once we fit them into their program, they could actually buy first, sell second, which means, of course, that we're probably going to end up using their equity more than likely, and that can be used for a down payment. And anything remainder, they're going to end up financing. Okay. So that's where the useful part of having a professional like yourself is. That's where we got to get them pre-qualified, right? We still got to go through that process no matter what. So it makes it easier for them to come down here. And the second thing is great because they're out of town. So how are they going to get here? They either going to come down for a few days, they're either going to go look around, or we can do it through, our awesome, wonderful technology that we use these days. Zoom, FaceTime, I think it's called Google Face or Google Time or something like that. It's a video.
Google Meet.
Google Meet. They do stuff like that, and we actually get to go through the house just as we're doing it here through video, complete video, and they're shopping on, basically through video online while they're still in the comfort of their own home, rather than having to come down here, which makes an extra trip for them and it kind of inconvenient, being away from work as well. So we're able to do that. They're in Houston. They're coming here to San Antonio. We shopped over the video. We did Zoom. Saw maybe like 5 houses. I think it was 5 or 6 houses. I told them about the neighborhood. They gave me a great description where they want it to be, which was over in Timberwood. Found a house in the area. Told them about the area, the schools, some of the things that they're particularly looking for themselves. Showed them everything. Give them my feedback. Because I've been here for 20 plus years now here in San Antonio. And they just said, you know what, let's go ahead and pull the trigger. Let's put an offer on the house. I spoke with the financial mortgage loan officer. We already had our pre-approvals and everything that we needed just to put all our ducks in a row, of course. And we made our offer, non-contingent, did our due diligence of negotiating, came to a finalization within 24 hours. We're under contract and in escrow. And, maybe like 30 days later, they came and moved down because that's the time frame that they wanted. After they moved into their house, put their other house on the market, and ended up selling that, and everything worked out great.
So did they need the equity of their old house to be able to put a down payment on the new one?
They use that part. They want to use that program design, so they
Yeah.
did take out that part of the
That's
equity.
really
Yep,
cool.
yep, absolutely. So it's a very powerful product, a very powerful tool to use, not only for me to offer that, but for us to even offer it
Right.
through our brokerage, but just for anybody who wants to utilize those routes, those options. I think that when they're educated and they can understand a program where it's simplified,
Right.
they're gonna want to use it.
Well, and that's what, a lot of people out there, as as clients, as buyers, as sellers, member of the public, they're like, well, this sounds too good to be true. Well, of course, the company, the third party company, is making money,
Sure.
right? But they're making it in fees that are very transparent. Is
Right.
that not correct? I mean, it's all very laid out before you get into the program. It's choices. Like anything we tell all of our clients, it's getting as much information as you can and making the best decision for you. It's not always, there's not a right and wrong decision. It's the best decision for you and your situation.
I love that you guys at Zest have this toolbox with all these different things. And what I think, and if you don't mind me bragging on what you guys do, what they do is they've they've had you've had clients that have come in with really unique circumstances, and you have found solutions, and now that solution is your new tool in your toolbox. And I love that. And our times keep changing. It seems like every 2 years we have some other new process, and I love the passion and the fire of going out and, well, how can we solve this issue? um, you know During COVID, we had some huge issues that we fought
Yeah.
after and tried to find some solutions, to make our buyers more appealing. Well, now it's really a buyer's market, so we don't have that need, but we still have that tool in our toolbox.
Exactly, and the tools, are somewhat adjustable. With being the
Yeah.
modern agent and the modern agency, because again, it's pretty simple once you say we have to do what's best for our clients, and that is the most important thing. Then Matthew knows going in, okay, we're going to give them these choices, and maybe they'll choose the iBuyer and not have to worry about it. But the thing is we still represent you through this whole process.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it,
Yeah.
right? So you have representation going throughout this process with us. I mean, we are still your representatives,
Yeah.
even though you're
We walk
dealing
all
with
the way
this
through it together.
third-party
Yeah.
company,
Yeah,
right?
love that.
And which is that is one of the beauties of what they've done well with
Sure.
several of these third-party companies, is they understand the value of representation because they work for themselves,
Right.
third-party
And
companies.
so this is different than the program that was real popular a couple years ago, Ribbon. And I don't even think they're in business anymore, but where they were guaranteeing the offer so that if for some reason the financing fell through, um, they would end up buying the house for them. This is not that, right? This is different. This is allowing you to make an offer without it being contingent on selling your house.
Well, think of it this way, and I'm glad you brought that up, because just like this bowl right here, this is called a toolbox, right? Okay, well, you keep adding tools to your toolbox. Okay, the more tools you have in your toolbox, the bigger your toolbox gets, right? So that's one tool that you can still utilize. That's still available today, but it's a matter of making adjustments because we're just in different market
Right.
times.
Right.
But we've added more tools to our toolbox. So if I have to go back to use an old tool, I know it's there.
I just love the creativity. I love that you see the need and you look for a way to meet that need. I think it is just brilliant, and that's what sets you guys apart by far.
Well, I want to share this with you too. So check this out. Okay, so I have a client right now that I'm working with. All their money, they're retired, they're kind of up in their elderly years, and they can't pick up and just move. It's going to be very tough for them, and all their money, they're not working, so their income is a lot lower, and they have a large house. They want to downsize, but the majority of their money is tied into the house. So we have a tool, okay, that allowed them to number one, okay, say, you know what, we see that majority of your money is in your house. So what we're going to do is that we're actually going to go ahead. You're approved because we see that you have the money. Go ahead and go find a house. We're actually going to pay cash for that house for you. Okay? Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, someone's going to, the people that we partner with, they're going to pay cash for a house for them. Okay? They're going to move out of their house. They have 14 days from the time they close on the new house. They have 14 days to move out of their current house, move into the new house. We're going to get their old house cleaned up a little bit, okay, to get it ready for the market. We're going to put it on the market for them. They're going to pay back us the money that we paid cash for the house, okay, because they're going to need that. All right, and then we're going to put their old house on the market, and any remainder proceeds that they have, they're going to get.
I love that.
How many people do that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, it does help. There's so much unknown, and the most difficult, and what I would say most people that want to upsize or downsize, as these people may, or just change their situation, what stops them in many situations is that big unknown. And also, just the thought of, okay, if we put your house, we're going to put your house on the market because we have to go contingent. And, as agents, for especially, now contingencies are being considered maybe more than in the past 5 years, but it's still difficult. But then you have the unknown. You get under contract and you're contingent on the sale of your house. Okay. So you found the house of your dreams that seller said, well, you better make sure that you get this house. Well, what do they normally give you? Maybe 60 days to sell that house. For 60 days, you're white knuckled as sellers and being buyers of this other one. I'm going to lose the house of my dreams. I'm going to, I'm just, and it could happen, right?
Yeah, it does happen.
And then you're pressured to sell it, and then
you got a domino effect,
exactly.
And it affects everybody down.
Very much, the domino effect is the most stressful part of this. It's the worst is the most stressful thing to do in real estate is to sell and buy simultaneously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this takes it down a notch.
Yep.
So that's worth. I mean, you have to think about what is that worth it to you to have that peace of mind and that security. And almost a guarantee knowing nothing's going to fall through. I'm going to be able to get that. There is a cost to it. Obviously, there's a cost. But how much would you be? And we're not going to talk about what that cost is right now. But, how much would you pay to have that peace of mind?
Well,
I'm sure you're willing to pay a whole lot more. Okay, tell me about the cost.
Because each company is different, Matthew. But what's the range? I mean, they're not talking about giving away 20% of their equity, are they, in order to make this easier?
No, it just all depends on what side of the transaction you're also working to. So on the buying side, there's ideally really not a fee to that. It's going to be mostly on the selling side of it. Okay. So when we're selling your old home now, that's usually where, because the money's coming out of your equity. Okay. Now, to utilize a program, of course, just like any program you're going to utilize, there's a fee. Whether we're using a professional mortgage loan officer like yourself and using that, a realtor, an attorney, title companies, there's still those fees that are incurring. It's just a matter of which program we're using. Yeah. So no, I mean, to kind of say it's at 20%, no, definitely not at 20%. It just depends on what program we're going to use, what tool we're going to use out of the toolbox, and then we can really make a determination, or rather our customer is going to make determination of what program is going to fit best into their needs.
So are they calling this, because I know one of my tools in my toolbox is a bridge loan, and I'm able to offer a bridge loan, but it is really two loans. You're getting equity out of the first house and using that to buy the second house, but then once your house sells, we're refinancing it. So it's two transactions. I've done a couple of the bridge loans, but people get kind of I don't want to do another closing. I don't want to do all this. This sounds like it's a little bit more simplified. I think the cost is just a little bit more, but that stress and that security of knowing it's taken care of. I mean, is it is it more like it's not two closings, it's one closing, right?
Ideally, yes. And again, remember, it depends
on which tool you use.
It depends on which tool you use, which program we're talking about.
Right,
so how we're utilizing, how it's going to work best for our customer.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to make the decision of which tool and which program versus, rather, which program they're going to use, and based upon that, that's going to dictate how the process is going to play out. It's
usually a percentage, right? I mean, it's not like 20% of your house you're giving away.
No,
but
that's a lot.
It's usually, but that's with any
Right.
with any kind of loan, any kind of short term, there's always a fee, with depending on it doesn't matter who your lender is.
Right.
That's just
It's a given.
yeah.
So, I mean, again, it just comes really down to knowing what's available to you as a consumer. Okay, you want to be educated. So when you're talking with any realtor, professional realtor, or even a professional corporation, whatever it may be, understand what programs are being offered to you. And sometimes you got to go over that again and over that again. And that's okay, because you really want to understand what is being presented to you, which tool to better use,
Yes.
what's ever going to, again, you're not going to use a Phillips, for a nail. You're going to use a hammer. So it all depends on what you're
Well,
going
and
to
it's
use.
transparency. So when we just go
Yes.
do a regular, which I know you do, Matthew, when you go present this program. Okay, if we do it this way, guys, we're just going to go contingent on the sale of your house, and we bring our net sheet, and our net sheet's going to show about, standard about 8%, cost to sell, right?
Sure.
So that's, this is the way we're doing it. Here are all the numbers. Here where all the numbers came from. This is theoretical based on this sales price of the house. Here's what it looks like, right? And then but we have these other tools. You could decide to do this, which gives you this result, and that gives you this result. And so the next toolbox is going to be, well, it's going to be a little easier because you get to move into the other house quicker, right? And scenario wise. So maybe this one's going to cost you X amount more. And this is what that looks like,
Absolutely.
right? And that sounds so simple, right? But I know a lot of agents don't necessarily do that, which is, it's so important. This is the biggest financial decision many people will make in their lives. So it's so important to know where the numbers come from. I mean, you never go sit down with your, your stockbroker and go, oh, well, it doesn't matter. This is what the numbers look like. And so every decision you make is totally informed.
Okay, so I'm a visual person, and I love having, kind of give me a picture. So I have this picture, and I feel like I'm going to give it to you for Christmas or something. Is you guys have this giant Mary Poppins bag, right? Do you remember the movie where Mary Poppins comes in? She opens up the bag and she starts lifting out all these things like a big giant lamp and stuff like that. You guys have this amazing, amazing Mary Poppins bag, and I'm coming in with a rose bush and I need to trim the rose bush. Well, you've got a chainsaw in your Mary Poppins bag, but are you going to whip out the chainsaw and use it? No. You're going to find the right tool, pruning shears or whatever. Yeah, right. Well, if you had a big oak tree, you might need that chainsaw, and you have it. So I love it. You've got all these different tools in your big giant Mary Poppins bag, and it just depends on whether or not you're coming in with a giant, oak tree, weeds, or rose bush. Sure. And you guys are going to do that.
Well, right. So. And again, part of it too is looking and seeing, and that's, part of what we do. Hey, you know what? Yeah. Your house is going to sell in a day, guys. We don't have to worry about, you've already identified a property and we already know they're going to accept a contingency because they know what your property is, right? I have a client who lives in a penthouse downtown. And it's a really unique, it's fantastic. And if we had to do this with him, I know that penthouse. It's a penthouse with a rooftop and a separate cabana. I mean, this is a unicorn in San Antonio, right? He probably doesn't need to use this program, but I tell him, hey, guy, I already have a list of 10 people who want to even offer on your property. So we don't need to use this program, right? But there are then people maybe without that luxury of having that unicorn to sell. And, things on the market in their neighborhood are sitting there for 75 days. We're going to honestly tell them, hey, we have 3 of the same floor plan on the market in your neighborhood right now. And it's probably this tool, is probably going to be the one you want to go with. Maybe you don't choose to, and maybe you'd rather sit on the market for 75 days. Wait till you get an offer on your house, and then we'll go run around for a week while you're in the option period and find you the house of the next house, right?
So we just had a closing not too long ago where they had their existing house. They wanted to buy a new house to move mom and dad in, or at least mom, Right. And so our first step was to see, gosh, can we just get them qualified on both houses?
Right.
And I mean, and we did. We ended up, we have them qualified. It was a VA loan, so we had enough entitlement. I think we only had to pay off a couple debts just to make it work, but they had it and they did it and it was great. So you wouldn't have pulled out the chainsaw on something like that, but it's there if we would have needed it. If they wouldn't have qualified, but they really needed to have that house.
Exactly. Or if they weren't comfortable with paying 2 mortgages until they sell the second house.
Yes.
So they were actually, and it was a choice for them, because I said, you know what, by the time you clean up this other house and I get it on the market, and then we have to wait a certain number of days, which is the average in your neighborhood, we're looking at you paying probably 2 mortgages, depending on how quick you spiffy up that house, right? Are you comfortable with that? Because if you're not, we need to go look at other tools in the toolbox, right?
So have they moved?
So actually, ironically, today they are having the house professionally make ready. Wow. And I'm going to stage it tomorrow, and the pictures are the next day.
Great.
So
Great.
And it's been 3 weeks since they moved out. So yeah, we were pretty much on that timeline, right? Of now they're probably going to be at least 2 mortgage payments doing doubles, right?
Well, the good news is that I can't remember what month we closed them in. So this is October. So I think we closed in September. Mm-hmm. You don't have a payment in October. Your first payment is due in November. So they may not have it. Depending.
Well, we'd hope.
The payment.
The worst case scenario, just so it's not a shock. And but they were comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Had they not been comfortable, the other, Matthew's Modern Agent program, this other program would have been a perfect fit for them.
Or especially somebody who can't qualify for both houses. This is a great solution,
and
right?
Many people cannot.
Most people. I would,
very true.
Don't quote me, but I'm guessing 80% of people who are buying another house need to sell that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, but I mean, a lot of us don't really want to own 2 mortgages or 3 mortgages or how many mortgages you might have.
I don't even want one.
Yeah,
so.
That's the reason for these programs were designed for that reason. It's just all a matter of finding out what their needs are, what their wants, and asking the right questions and kind of working through that. There's really ideally 5 programs that we offer, one of those traditional real estate. So again, kind of from that toolbox of a traditional type of realtor, and I just say that it's an easier word, term. But today there's just so many more tools that I've discovered that I think a lot of other agents are all discovering that I just know how to use very effectively. I've been doing it again for, doing this for 2 years now, 2 years plus. So, and the great thing too is that it's not just for someone who has an existing home, because what about first-time home buyers? There's different programs that also design for that route as well. So it all depends on who we're talking to, what their need is, what their plan is, and how we can interject into that plan and see what's going to work best for them.
Yeah, and keep it on top of it. As you know, they change every time you wake up in the morning. We might have a new program, or the last one we used has changed. So that's another important thing, is being able to do the pivots and being able to adjust with the times, because how often do we get a new iPhone? That's as quick as these programs kind of adjust and change for the times, which is fantastic. But you have to keep on top of it.
Absolutely.
Because you have to know. We always want to be one step ahead.
Sure.
For our clients, but you have to wake up every morning and double check there isn't something new out there that might, fit your client's needs better. So,
majority of what I'm noticing, at least majority of the customers and clients that I've been working with, usually they own a house and looking to sell that house and move into another house. So, what I love and what I introduce to them is once they share that information with me, however they find me, whether it's just from a postcard I sent them, an email I shared with them, they know about the new programs. Most of them are doing buying first and selling second. And once I understand that, then I can really start navigating with them through the entire process of what's going to work well. And I think one of the things I hear most is that it's as stress-free as it can be. Okay, because we all know that it's all stressful, but we're trying to dummy that down, as best as we can.
It's the most important purchase you'll probably make in your life.
And I think one of the things they appreciate too is that there's no double moves. They're not having to move, and if there's a delay in this process for that to happen, it creates havoc, because then they got to go find a storage unit, or they got to go to an apartment.
Well,
it just
financially,
it's expensive.
Think how much it costs to move now.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, even within the city, it's expensive. So, I mean, actually putting that on a column and saying, okay, well, here's how much this program costs versus just doing it the traditional way. Here's how much this costs, but you're going to have to move twice, and you're going to have to get a storage unit, and you're probably going to have to live in temporary housing. And or even, you know, if you look at it the traditional way, if we do a lease back, which we were doing a lot of, you know, during the COVID times and when we had competitive multiple offer situations, sometimes we still had to pay rent even after we'd closed on the property. Well, what if that added up and all the stress to the same that this program would add up to? Well, then it makes it a different kind of decision.
And you brought up a good point, which was the lease back, because once you close on the house, whatever the case may be, and you got to stay in your house, and your old house is not really your house anymore, and you're leasing it back, you got to pay deposits, and you got to pay your rental, your daily rental rate, whatever that may be, and it can be for a week. And most people don't want to do it for the people who just bought the house. So we really try to avoid that whole process of the traditional way. It's still going to be there. Always it's going to be there, which is a great foundation still. But why not, when we layered it up and we have these new programs, why not do it the modern way? Why not see what's available for you to do that? And I think that's the most powerful thing. And more people are starting to get used to this. I think more, even larger corporations starting to get involved in this as well. And they really want to team up with us as agents, still putting us at the forefront of real estate, which I think is a really good, nice thing for them to do.
That's great. If you want to know more about the modern realtor or the modern toolbox that Zest Realty is offering, we can go to their website, which is zestrealtygroup.com. Remember, it's Linda, Matthew. They're awesome. We're so great.
We'll put all of Matthew's. You already have mine, but we're going to put all of Matthew's contact information up. He is our expert at Zest Realty on these brand new programs.
Yeah, Toolman Taylor.
Toolman Taylor, right?
That's great.
So we look for that on the YouTube version, and
in the show notes. We'll put all the contact information in there.
And tell us your phone number, Matthew, so
yes.
they're just listening.
Area code 210-392-8650.
Great. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. And thank you for hosting us at your lovely
Yes.
Thanks for
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
All right.